Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our Jamf Pro Connect and Protect webinar with myself and Ross Drummond. Just a quick introduction to myself. My name is Gary Collins. I'm the Technical Lead MDM Consultant at Academia. If you have any MDM related questions regarding services, please reach out to me. I'll put my details in the chat box, which you can all see on the right hand side. Just a quick note from myself. To all of our Academia, Toucan and Vital York customers that are on the webinar today. Just want to say a big thank you for joining and hope you're having a good day. So after the session, we will be doing a quick Q&A section. Please feel free to leave all your questions in the chat box as we go along. There's a slight delay between the presenters and everyone who's viewing us. So just fill them up as we go along and we'll mark them as a question and I shall read them out to Ross at the end. So Ross is a systems engineer for Jamf who will be presenting for us today. So I'm going to hand you over to him. Ross, over to you, mate.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well on this slightly overcast day here in London. So today, this was kind of pitched as Pro Connect and Protect. It's kind of just an entire overview of the Jamf suite of products. I think how I've kind of decided to frame it would be, I guess, a bit more around the idea of, of going from where we were at, getting ready for the new academic year, what that would look like, and kind of like probably what a lot of you have all experienced over the last few months as sort of a digital transformation and sort of how we can fit in with that piece. So yeah, as Gary said, that is it's me. I don't look like that. I've grown my hair out, and especially over lockdown, it's gotten even longer. But I look vaguely like that at the moment. But yeah, I'm a systems engineer for UK and Ireland. So yeah. What I would say is some of this is, is aimed at folks that maybe don't know that much about Jamf. So it is high level in parts. Like Gary said, if you guys have questions or you want to do a bit more technical deep dive, let's get into those at the end. I'm happy to stick around. The content of the deck itself probably going to last about a half hour or so. And I know this is a time for a little longer than that. So yes, you can see here of our agenda is kind of talking about digital transformation. A lot of these things I've actually sort of tried to phrase it in, so it talks about the office, and I was trying to think like what would be appropriate in an educational environment, and then I was trying to think, is it school? No. Is it campus? No. It sounds a bit American. So I've used office and things like that there, but do know that I'm sure you'll all will understand what I'm on about. So what is Jamf? We help organizations succeed with that. Well, that's kind of our mission statement. We're the world's leading platform for managing the Apple ecosystem. We've got over a decade of experience doing that. We've got more than 38,500 organizations using Jamf, 7,000 K-12 schools, 1,000 global universities. All the top unis all over the world use Jamf. 9 million teaching students. And then obviously in other sectors, we've got 22 of the top 25 tech companies all using Jamf to organize and manage their estate, whether that be iOS, tvOS, iPadOS, or macOS around the world. So this is my point here, where it says the office, but I think we can all kind of put our imagination hats on and see what it can be various, but we all, for all intents and purposes, all work in an office. And I guess the point we're trying to make here is that, work patterns have changed a lot. As I'm sure we've all experienced over the last decades. We used to use the telephone. I can't remember the last time I used a desk phone. Fax machines. If you've ever had to deal with doctors, sometimes that's the only time I've ever had to use a fax machine recently. And also just like equipment at our desks. Things like desktop machines, computers. Conference rooms, accessing file servers locally. And then obviously at the office, we've also got these things called co-workers. I don't know if any of you remember what those are, to see them face to face. And then, there's even those folks that, those weird ones at the time that only work from home. How bizarre. And, that was kind of the way of the land. But today, I guess the home has become, well, for most of us, the home has become the office. And all those, wired desk phones have become mobile phones. I moved into my flat. I bought this flat last year. We don't have a landline. I've got fiber internet, but that's it. And all conversations are done over email or Slack, and our desk can be anywhere at this point, as we've all probably experienced in the last few months. Whether that's a coffee shop, the library, or your kid's bedroom. I was talking to Kieran. He's like, I've been doing a lot of work in the car, waiting for my kids to get out of nursery at 3 o'clock. So, there's a lot of different places that things can be done, and all of our data is stored in servers that are on the, are cloud accessible now. I think we all can remember the cloud boom as being the hot thing, but the idea being that this stuff is all over the world and can be done and action from anywhere. So, a lot of companies, a lot of conversations I've always had about sort of digital transformation. They're like, well, we don't really see the need to change. We don't need to think of have this little cartoon here. But I think what we've all learned is that, a lot of us, and what's been amazing about, some of our IT team, the resilience of our IT teams is how quickly we have been able to adjust. For example, at Jamf, we shut our offices one day, and within 24 hours, we were all mobilized as a workforce, at home. We're able to continue to do those, and that came down to the fact that we have had that sort of preparation for that digital transformation, and we're a modern company. But a lot of folks, they don't have that outset. But what I think we need to understand is that what does that strategy look like, and what type of technology you guys, in your institutions, schools, what are you putting in place for, if this happens, when this happens, and if this continues to be the way of life. Do we have to change people's roles because they're working at home? Do they have to do we have to have different rules, expect them to do different things just because they're at home? Understanding that people, there's generations of students, teachers, employees coming into the workplace that are not used to sitting at a desk, working off a desk phone, and all those sorts of things. So what are those plans in place to make that the reality? I don't think any of it. Well, I've certainly not been lucky enough to be able to work from home like this, but the idea that people need to work anywhere and have a desire to work anywhere and do anything, and IT is the kind of the key to unlocking all of these pieces of the puzzle to allow us to be able to turn on our laptops from the car, or pick my iPhone when I wake up in the morning and get everything. And I think the struggles with kids and things like that aside, for the most part of us, we've been able to see, or certainly my experience is that working from home hasn't meant that I've worked less. I've been able to do, I've still got all the tools to do my job. So I guess where someone like Jamf comes in is how we can fit into that user experience and that impact of being, giving you IT departments the power to facilitate all those remote working experiences. And we kind of do that sort of three ways. Talk about the onboarding. So we've got the new academic year. There's a whole new raft of students coming in. What are they gonna? How are we gonna get them into the systems? How are they gonna be enrolled? How's that gonna work? What's that gonna look like? Where are they gonna be when they do that? And then obviously the experience. We talk about employees here, but your students as well. What that experience for them is, and then obviously the culture experience as well. Like, so you don't want things to be kind of clunky. The IT is very often the first point of contact or experience that beyond the initial interview process they'll have with your institution. So that streamlined system and that setup will reflect what your kind of mission statement is at the university, how you want to be looked upon, and how that's valued. So the three ways we kind of talk about those things, or the 3 points, are around tools, access, and trust, right? So you need the right tools to be able to get your work done. So that these days that's probably a laptop and a smartphone, or an iPad, just something that can get online. Maybe it has a keyboard and mouse. Again, I've had a lot of conversations with folks that the idea of a keyboard and mouse is slowly going to go the way of the dinosaur, and I can totally envision that. When you see young folks using iPads and things like that, they just tap stuff and stuff happens, and I think that's going to kind of become the way of the world. And once they've got those tools, we need to give them access to the data and services to do their jobs. So, that could mean opening your networks up so that folks can connect from home, or it could mean, that the data that you give them access to is stored securely on the internet, and using a service such as, a cloud service to store that. And then we have to ensure that, we give them these tools, we're giving them these access. We have to ensure there's a level of trust there. So, that can be, simple things like an HR policy and an education perspective. But then there's also, giving folks the tools they need, but with the security policies that you wish to see in place at your institution. So it may mean that you kind of have to rethink what that looks like, and have some of those conversations, especially if you've got, kind of a lot of security policy and posture was implemented way before any of, talk about digital transformation was implemented. So usually a big talking point. So I guess that's where our suite of tools comes in, that tools, access, and trust. So, when you've got your tools, you're going to need something to manage those tools. So that's where Jamf Pro comes in, so whether it's iPads, MacBook Pros, iMacs, Mac Pros, you name it, Apple TVs, that's where Jamf Pro comes in. That's the tool that's going to be able to manage all those devices and do the doing for you. And then when it comes down to the access piece, we can manage the devices, but how are they going to access our universities? What's the identity management piece of that? That's where Jamf Connect fits in, because that's an application that sits on top of the Mac and allows users to authenticate and and log in with your institution's identity provider and ensure password synchronization. And I'll get more into that shortly. And then from a trust perspective, our newest product, which was launched in EMEA back in April, is Jamf Protect. So that's the idea, that's an enterprise endpoint protection specifically for and purpose-built for Mac OS. So utilizing all the built-in tools already that are in Mac OS, and then adding an additional visibility and protection on top of those to kind of give you full endpoint protection on your Mac estate. So, we look at onboarding, the speed at which organizations, have to get folks onboarded and get people productive. There's been studies, there's a few stats coming up. I certainly know Fletcher, Previn at IBM, talked about the fact that people that when they get given the tools that they want to use to do their job, they're more likely to stay in their roles. And I'm sure we've all, I can think of tons of conversations I've had with different folks where they said, so the dean or this tutor has just gone out and bought a Mac on his his company credit card because he just wants to use that. He doesn't want to use the laptop we provided them. But what we've seen is that when organizations deliver that strong onboarding experience, the numbers are that employee retention rates improve by 82%, and the productivity of your employees is 70%, because I guess they're using the tools they want to do their jobs on. So, when we kind of talk about the different use cases and scenarios, something like Jamf Pro, it's really important to have that efficient onboarding. Get it out of the box, power it on. You've set up their HR put their credentials into your identity provider, that source of truth, and then we get the Mac out to them. When it gets to them, it needs to be that seamless experience so that it's the same, whether that's on iOS, iPad OS, on their Mac. We want to make sure it's the same easy onboarding experience. And then I guess there's also, we get those third parties, folks that come in temporarily, aren't there for a long time. Maybe they're bringing their own tools in. You want to make sure that they're locked down, or they have functionality and access to the tools you want. Or we give them a temporary device that we can quickly, power up and wipe. And that's where, again, something like Jamf Pro would come in handy. So a lot of this is all focused on zero-touch deployment. And with Jamf Pro, there's another stat be thrown at you. On average, Jamf Pro customers spend 80% less time provisioning, and I can certainly test that in previous roles. If you use Apple's device enrollment program, things will be a lot easier for you, because I'm sure we've all kind of experienced and seen this sort of legacy provisioning. Some of you might still be, using Academia to do some of this for you today. You purchase your devices. You preload an image on it, you get them all unboxed, you Ethernet them all together, they all image, then you put them back in a box, store them in a cupboard. Then a new user joins the company, and they turn it on for the first time, and it says, oh, there's a ton of updates, so that as soon as it gets back on the network, it's a slow and laborious process. That you can see that's going to take up a lot of time. But when you've got Apple School Manager and you've got Jamf, you can order a device from Apple, ship it directly to a user, and because Jamf is in the middle and is acting as that device management piece, you can say the moment it connects to the internet, do this, do that, install this company profile, install this policy, give users the ability to access these applications that they're going to need to do their jobs. But you don't need to install, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Edge. We can say, Safari's on there, it's built-in browser for macOS, but if you open up self-service, you can install the browser you want to use in the institution. And that will just always save you time when it comes to, having to build these big legacy images. And that's kind of, I'm sure if you've ever been on jamf.com, bored to death to seeing this image, but it's a powerful one, because it's the idea that, again, anyone who's ever joined a company, very rarely have you seen this kind of experience where you just get the laptop straight to your house, power it on, and that's it. It kind of does its doing. There is no step 3 for the end user, but I think, when you look at this and you coming at it from an IT perspective, if you're going to be, administrator for Jamf, is that, that step 3 is where you've done all that work, but you've only ever had to do it once, or maybe you only ever have to, keep it up to date if there's a specific new package or a new installer or a new product that you want to deploy out. And we've been doing this since 2002. So, it's the reason that folks like Apple use us, and SAP, and, all, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, you name it. So the other thing that's important when you're doing these enrollments, and we're showing an iPad here, but we can get this exact same experience on macOS, is that enrollment customization. I talked about that kind of that cultural experience earlier. This is where that comes in, right? So, the first time you turn on the device, you connect to the network, you're greeted with, a welcome to page. You can do stuff like you can have an acceptable use policy, but you can also do some really cool stuff. I've seen, certain companies show their ad campaigns, or, like a welcome to video, a message from the CEO, all these sort of different things. Equally, you can have a EULA and, make sure they accept that. But what it does is it kind of sets the table and gives you a kind of a little, welcome to the company, and makes it feel a bit more personable, so that when they do get their device up and running, you kind of feel like they've got an understanding of what's happened on it. Again, as opposed to those old days where you go to the service desk, some guy takes the laptop away from you, types in his admin credentials, does X, Y, and Z, and then gives it back. You're not really ever sure what's happened. So, that enrollment customization piece, again, built in with Jamf Pro, or is really useful. When it comes to that access piece, that's where Jamf Connect comes in, and is really helpful, because what that's going to allow us to do is, we talked about the provisioning there, getting the device out into the wild, but maybe we don't want users to have, just generic accounts that they set up themselves. We want to have them, log in with our identity providers. So, something like Azure, something like Okta, one login, something like that. They can sign in with their email address and password that they've been sent in advance. They can set up multi-factor authentication during that initial login process if they haven't already, and create their account. And then once that account is created, we can, with Jamf Connect, we can ensure their password stays in sync. And again, here's another little stat for you. I'm sure if anyone's ever worked in a help desk and come back from a summer break or a Christmas break, the password resets, 31% seems low to me. I've done some workshops with some other identity providers. I think Okta says 50%. I think one login say 40%. But either way, up to half of your time is spent if you're on a help desk doing password resets. And with Jamf Connect, we can, again, empower our users to know where to go to reset those passwords and ensure that they've got that single identity everywhere. Because it's all about that kind of thing of like, when users have got that choice, they can choose to have the device they want to use, something like an Apple laptop. They're probably choosing that because that's what they've got at home. So when you give folks, the tools that they're already used to, you're kind of getting that inbuilt sort of tier 0 level of IT knowledge. Users will know, how to turn the Wi-Fi off or connect to a different network, or, they know how to restart it, or maybe they know how to get system preferences. So, it helps with those troubleshooting steps because the knowledge base is already, kind of got a foundational level. So, all that stuff, ties in with the employee experience, right? And that's, I guess, the most important piece. And what I'm trying to hammer home here is that digital transformation piece. It's about making IT departments, about making your guys' lives easier, but it's also about making sure that IT is a customer service role, right? We're there to serve our employees and ensure that the company is secure and our colleagues are able to do the work that they need to do in as seamless a way as possible. And here's Martin Lang there. SAP moved from their own MDM product that they built to Jamf because of our focus and understanding of the user experience. And I think that's kind of goes to show, sort of cement the point I'm trying to make here. So, with Jamf Pro, and again, as I mentioned, that employee choice piece there, giving users, that's the beauty of it, right? So we're not saying Apple everything, and we work with Microsoft. We have partnerships with Microsoft. We have integration with Microsoft Intune. It's about giving your users the choice to work on the devices they want. And with Jamf, if they choose, Apple, when they've got that product, that when they get it, we providing them with all the resources and applications that they are going to need to do their job. So, in that curated resource there, you get a little snapshot of self-service. So again, you might not want to give all your users administrative access, but you also don't want them all calling up the service desk saying, hey, can somebody just come in and pop the password in, or can you remote in and pop the password in so I can install or update Evernote or my email settings or something like that. What you can do is you can, again, empower your users with self-service and get them going themselves. And then, again, with Jamf Pro, security and privacy, making sure all that stuff's locked down, energy saver settings, sharing settings, restrictions. You can maybe you do give your users all admin access, but you only want them to install applications that have been signed by Apple. So we can enable gatekeeper settings, or we want them they can have admin access, but they can only connect to these specific Wi-Fi networks. There's all these different sort of ways and paths and sort of choose your own adventure as it comes to security and privacy. But with Jamf Pro, we're leveraging all of Apple's MDM framework. We've got our own policies in place, so you can choose how the devices are set up. So yes, this is kind of, again, another stat for you. On average, Jamf Pro customers spend 65% less time managing policy and settings changes. And again, that's because we do things like smart groups. So rather than having to, scope to users, a new person joins, I've got to move them into that group. I can do stuff like, if the device is a MacBook Pro or is, a MacBook or just, is a laptop, then they're going to get these energy saver settings. Or they're going to get these security settings because I know they're going to be, moved around a lot more. Or if they're in, I can integrate with LDAP, so I can say, hey, if you're in this department, do these things. If you're in marketing, okay, you're going to have access to all the Adobe suite. And that's all based around configuration policies, so configuration profiles rather, policies, and and custom scripts and things like that as well. And the way we do that is because we've got the binary agent for macOS. So Jamf has existed longer than Apple offered MDM, so mobile device management, and as a result, because of that, we've always had the Jamf Pro agent, and what that allows us to do is, with their powers combined, give you complete management over the device. So when it comes to stuff like app management, we can push out all the applications from the Apple School Manager. So any apps that are available in there, users aren't going to have to put in their Apple ID. You can go via Apple School Manager. Again, it's a free program, so if you don't have it, get yourself signed up to it today. And with that, you'll be able to, purchase all the apps from one place. And you can even, when I say purchase, you can, procure free products there as well, so that users don't have to, sign in with their own Apple ID to get things like WhatsApp desktop, things like that. And it means, again, because you're using and leveraging Apple's ecosystem to do a lot of that, you're spending on average 90% less time managing the apps. For those apps that aren't in Apple's App Store, that's where the Jamf Pro agent comes in again, because we can push out the applications via their installers using the Jamf Pro agent. And then we got self-service, right? So I kind of talked about empowering users and letting users do their own thing, feeling like it's their machine. I think a lot of us probably do feel like that anyway. Once if you're given access to your own device, if you've got more power over it, you tend to take a bit more care in it. I know some IT companies will say, after X amount of years, you have the ability to purchase this device, and as a result, what you often find is if folks know they get to keep it, they take a hell of a lot more good care of it. But in terms of actually just doing their work on there, that's where self-service is so powerful and so useful. And it can be customized as well, right? So you can see there, we've got the little iMac with the Academia self-service. But what I've seen and seen great success with is when folks kind of personalize the self-service portal. So they put their company logo, the institution's logo, and maybe do a little campaign around that. Maybe brand it with what your service desk is called or the IT team is called. And so folks associate that as the place they go to get stuff done. And again, there's a little stat for you. Jamf Pro customers see a 15% reduction in help desk tickets because, again, it's all those ones that, can you come and install this for me? Can you add this printer for me? You can put all that in self-service so that your users don't have to bother your team. And you can get on with more important projects and other things that you want to do in your environment. So the last sort of piece, and again, this comes to the security, is Jamf Protect. So I guess the biggest thing with Protect is it gives visibility for your InfoSec team. I know a lot of different departments or Macs, departments have never or InfoSec departments rather, have never even really seen what's going on the Macs, or maybe they don't care, maybe just don't know, or they've not had the ability to do that. With Macs aren't impervious to malware. They have the ability to be infected with stuff. There's great built-in tools with Apple security, and with Jamf Pro, we can enable, like I mentioned before, Gatekeeper, Xprotect in there, the malware removal tool, all those things. They exist on the macOS operating system to ensure the device is secure. But with Jamf Protect, we get visibility into all that, as well as kind of leveraging known threats and malware, and then actually looking at sort of potential threats. So it's more about the things that we don't know about yet, that Apple and security teams aren't aware of, and we can isolate and using sort of built-in tools from Apple, like their GameKit engine, as well as like known analytics. And again, we can get way more into Protect if that is something of interest to you. We can set up a personal demo of that, because it is a whole new world of things of security on macOS framework. But the point being that using a tool like Protect alongside Jamf Pro, we can use those smart groups again and present recovery instructions to our end users. Again, we're enabling our users to take responsibility. So whether that's just they try to install an application that's not signed with a developer account, we send them a little notification saying, hey, this wasn't signed by Apple. Here's our IT policy. This is the reason we don't let you install these applications. Any questions, contact the service desk. Or it's, they've downloaded a Flash installer, but we have used Protect and we can see it wasn't signed by Adobe and it potentially contains some malicious software. We can say, right, I'm going to turn your Wi-Fi off. Here's the phone number for the service desk. Contact them because we're going to need to make sure your device is okay. Or you can go the whole hog and say, if we've seen malware, try to be executed, we can remotely reinstall macOS and again immediately redeploy the apps. Again, all with that sort of touch of a button, and all be able to do cloud, all be able to do remotely because it just relies on that internet connection. So with Protect, we get that, and with Pro, we can kind of get that full remediation experience. So you get that complete overview of everything on your Mac estate. Your security departments are happy. You're happy. Your users are happy. So that's kind of an overview of our portfolio. I'm just giving you, this is like a slightly extended version of that. We talked about Connect, Pro, and Protect. If you are looking for a lighter touch when it comes to education, there's Jamf School. If you're a small, medium business, or you are just wanting some mobile device management for your home, for your family's iPads and iPhones, I would definitely recommend checking out Jamf Now. I think it's free for the first 3 licenses. In fact, I think it might actually be free until September at the moment, because I think just again because of this, of the world we live in at the moment, that was something that Dean asked for to happen. And then if you haven't ever been on it, definitely check out Jamf Nation. There's 100,000 Apple admins on there, all talking about absolutely anything you can imagine. And if you can't find the thing you want to know, ask the question, and you're going to find a really helpful world of people. I'd say Jamf Nation is probably one of the friendliest. I've certainly used that in my, earlier in my career pre-Jamf. I've asked questions on there, and folks have literally done my homework for me, which is pretty incredible. So yeah, can't recommend that enough. And then there's obviously the other parts of Jamf, again, alongside Academia, where, we can offer you professional services. We've got training. So, there's the Jamf 100, which is a free course you can take online right now. If you're an existing Jamf customer, training.jamf.com, there's a whole raft of things in there. But yeah, Jamf 100 gives you a complete kind of overview on, what is Apple MDM, what is Apple in the enterprise, what does that look like? And then again, I guess the other thing that we should mention is that when you use Jamf, you get our support. And because we only use Apple and we only work with Apple devices, all of our support team are experts in that Apple world. So, gone are the days if you kind of call up a thing and then they sort of try and dig down to find a person that knows what the Apple software looks like or how it works, when you call maybe one of our competitors. So that concludes everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So Gary, back to you. I guess if there's any questions, I can potentially stop sharing my screen as well. I can see them.
Keep the question slide up.
We'll
keep it there. So currently, no, there's not been anything posted to the right-hand side. But thank you very much, Ross. Really, really interesting stuff. If you guys have any questions, please do post them on the right. Me and Ross will awkwardly wait around for a little bit to see if anyone wants to ask anything regarding what we've just gone over. I mean, we could play the thank you video, and we could stick around. So if anyone does, I think, does that work for you, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
Oh, we have one. Cost of training course beyond Jamf 100.
I believe they're all on jamf.com/training. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but I do know they're discounted at the moment because some of them are obviously virtual. But we are running virtual 200 and 300 classes. So definitely, reach out to your Academia person, and they can advise you on the cost of those at the moment.
Yeah, if you reach out to me, I'll put you in touch with the right person. It's okay, we'll wait for a few more if they come in. We do have another one, Ross. Will Jamf Protect do away with other products?
I mean, depends what products you're talking about. But yes, I think I've had this conversation a couple of times. I certainly see, well, it's a conversation to have with your InfoSec department. Can it do what other products on the market do for Mac? Absolutely. Does it do more than what other products do on the market for Mac, when it comes to import protection? Yes, because it's purpose-built for Mac OS. So there's definitely a conversation to be had. And again, your InfoSec departments, if you're using something like a SIEM or a SIM, I've still not figured out a standard way to say that, but an SIEM, we can export all that data into there. So if your InfoSec departments are using that, they're going to get a whole host of visibility on things that they've never had visibility on before, all the while getting the same level of protection from our there's a database of known malware that we kind of do threat prevention on, quarantine that, as well as all the anything that could be deemed as suspicious activity on a Mac that isn't necessarily just a known piece of malware. We can look at that, and you can decide what happens when X and Y equals, so you can choose what happens to the devices, like I said before, with the whether it's an Adobe install, whether it's not signed by Adobe, and things like that.
Perfect. Another one is any example HE sites?
HE?
Yes.
Higher education? What, as in like like high schools using Jamf?
Yeah, if you could elaborate a little bit more on that question, I will come back to that one. That was all that was on there. So
okay.
The next one I'll go to is, it says, you've talked about the benefits of Jamf, but no demo on how to set up Jamf Connect to manage devices. Is there a workshop available for that?
So when you buy Jamf Connect, one of the things you get is a jumpstart. So somebody will come and help you set it up for you. That's kind of part and parcel of purchasing the product. If you're wanting to know more about that, reach out to your person at Academia. I can certainly take you through a demo, but yeah, the point of the product is that when you purchase it, we'll walk you through what needs to be done to get it work in your environment. We also have a demo version, so you can install it on your test device of your choosing, and then connect to one of our own identity providers, so you can see how it works in practice as well.
Excellent. The next one is, does Jamf Protect negate the need for McAfee and Malwarebytes? Would using all three together be overkill? I
think it would be overkill, but I guess it's up to you. I've worked at places where there were 3 or 4 application, different security tools on devices at any given time. I know InfoSec departments like to spend money, so it's entirely up to them. But I personally, the idea that this is purpose built for Mac, so it doesn't do things like those. Certainly, the McAfee uses kernel extensions which are built into Mac OS, which Apple are deprecating, right? So the next version of Mac OS, you will not be able to use McAfee in its current state. So, certainly have a look at any tools you're using today if they're using kernel extensions, and find out from that development company what their stance is on and what the development sort of roadmap looks like, to make sure that they're going to be compatible with Big Sur, because as they stand today, those products will simply not work. Whereas something like Jamf Protect, again, because we've got all the 18 years of Apple knowledge, we've got day 0 support. It's purpose built for Mac. It's ready to go, so it's not going to suddenly stop working when Big Sur comes out.
Cool, perfect. Can you advise on the best course for mastering Jamf Composer and learning more about packaging and more specialist or complicated software packages?
So Composer, I wonder if you get into a bit of Composer on the Jamf.
Yeah, you do a bit on 2 and 300, but it's a weird one because the 300, obviously from when I did it to what it is now, has changed. It does change. I wouldn't say you'd learn specific in Composer. Feel free to reach out to myself. We'd be happy to look at how we can help offer training for things like that.
Yeah, I also think it's probably, if you're doing a lot of custom stuff in Composer, there's probably ways we can manipulate those packages without having to go into Composer, maybe doing it via Jamf Pro instead.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that. I think certain things, depending if you're using DMGs, packages, from what Jamf used to be used for a long time ago with DMGs, which was, user preferences and things like that. That can now all be done with P-lists, which can be pushed out through Jamf via custom scripts and things like that. So,
again, also another good one if you're struggling with packages, like go on Jamf Nation, but obviously reach out to Gary and myself. But yes,
reach out to me. The next one, to use Azure authentication, can this be used without having to buy Jamf Connect via Apple School Manager and then add the user into Jamf?
So you can do this with Apple School Manager and Azure. You can create federated Apple IDs. So that means is that the Apple ID that users can sign into like an iPad or an iPhone with will be their Azure credentials. During enrollment, so like during device enrollment on Mac OS, you can authenticate against Azure. So it will create a local account of those initial credentials. But if you want to ensure that the passwords maintain synchronization, or if you want the ability to log in with multiple different accounts, that's where something like Jamf Connect will come in. So Jamf Connect will allow you to log in and log out with whoever you wish, give them admin or standard accounts based on their role within Azure. And then again, we'll ensure that the passwords stay in sync with those Azure credentials moving forward as well.
Excellent. Someone has asked if they're interested in the demo version. Where would I get that? But I believe someone has posted that already in the chat.
Yeah, or reach out to, again, Academia can send you the credentials. I know Jan and stuff was helping some folks out with that the other day, Gary. So reach out to their Academia representative, and I'm sure we can get you up to speed with that. Yeah,
that's fine.
I think the link to the installers. The installers are just the installers. There is actually a trial process that you go through with somebody from Academia or Jamf.
Cool. The last one is auto bind to AD via config or a script. I mean, I could probably answer this. It already depends on workflow, really. Whatever you find is best. Either way is totally fine. There's no right or wrong way, really. Depends what you're trying to do as part of the AD bind as well. You might want to do something else as well as bind, or set certain preferences.
Yeah, I would also say that everything I've talked about today would suggest you wouldn't want to bind to AD at all. So,
well, yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
I guess it's a question of what benefits are you getting out of AD, because of the tools that are out there now, built in from Mac OS or provided by us at Jamf, will kind of negate the need to be bound to Active Directory, and tends to cause more issues. We talk about those password problems, things like that. But again,
also, if relating to Jamf Connect, then you do not need to bind the machine. So just to keep that in mind, it doesn't need to be bound to AD.
Correct. Yeah.
We had a kind of context question here. So working in the uni context, okay. So our local accounts are cleared on devices after usage. So in the past, we have used default user templates to standardize the fresh login by removing first launch, nag screens, and software preferences, etc. Is this something that can be achieved with Jamf Composer? We also use a lot of software installers, and I can't even say that word, idiosyncratic licensing process. What are the limitations of Jamf Composer, and what is the point at which we will have to fall back on custom scripts? Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, I guess, from a login perspective, again, you can suppress a lot of that stuff with MDM now, again, with device enrollment. So, they wouldn't see those choices. And then when it comes down to applications, I mean, honestly, I don't know how much use of Composer has done that. I would say if you're looking at going real deep into the world of Composer, that I'd maybe take a step back and look at actually what we're trying to achieve, because it would suggest to me that we're missing out on a lot of modern functionality that is in the Apple frameworks to mobile to manage devices. So yeah, there's definitely applications that need some configuration, but I imagine most of that can be achieved in other ways. So I would,
Yeah, I'd agree. I think
that sounds like something that, that's maybe a nice call for, Gary and maybe myself or someone to go through and get into and see what kind of consultancy or whatever stuff you guys can provide.
Yeah, I think, when you talk about, templates to standardize fresh logins, removing first launch stuff, things like that. There might be other ways to look at it. Everyone's using plist now to kind of determine what's happening within applications and things like that. So there may be another angle that we can look at it. So
that's
reach out.
The kind of question that you can post on Jamf Nation, and you'll get a lot of different other people's opinions on it. But if you want to just talk to somebody at Jamf about it and somebody that knows their onions like Gary, then feel free to reach out to us.
Cool, perfect. Excellent. What we'll do now is we will put the thank you video on with the lovely music, and me and Ross will stick around for a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
So in the chat box, actually, I've got another one come through, so I might as well do this one for you. In Azure, there is a tool with accounts that syncs their accounts back, so nothing is saved locally in terms of documents, etc. Can Jamf Connect do the same without having to create local accounts?
No.
No. There you go.
So Jamf Connect, all Jamf Connect does is kind of parse the identity part, so the username and password, and create a local account on Mac OS. You could then use something like OneDrive to have kind of the synchronization of the desktop and documents for that user. I've seen that be a part of, certainly on the Windows side, and also in other products like Dropbox and things are doing that now as well. But like those mobile kind of roaming profiles, but from Azure, regardless of the technology, I'm always wary of it. So
it's a really difficult one, working with lots of clients at the moment as well. We still have people using network homes and things like that, and it all boils down to such a bigger picture, really, what you're trying to achieve in the long run. We've got people using scripts and stuff to do this and that, when really so many things can be solved with a local account and having to purge it at a later date.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really broad question at the same time. So it's really, really difficult to answer. But I think now even with Jamf Connect stuff, the way that we're kind of standardizing local accounts now is the best way to move forward. Apple kind of agree with that workflow as well. So
Windows do as well, right? Like for the most part. So it's not
it's just the user library stuff as well in Mac has always been that kind of issue that people have managed to get around, but more people are kind of standardizing the local accounts now. It gives the user a much better experience overall.
Yeah.
So another kind of broader question, really. So please reach out to us if
our email address is in the chat. Maybe pop them in if people want to ask.
Yes, I've popped mine in there. Let me pop yours in as well. Is it bad that I'm having to go and check what yours is?
No, I can pop it in the chat as well if you want to do that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
I thought it was there. I didn't want to double check. Same kind of thing. Yeah, go for it, please, if you can.
Screen share. Here you go. I just put the wrong email address in there.
I'll pop mine in again as well for everyone.
There you go.
Yep, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your questions as well. And Ross, thank you very much.
Questions at the end there.
We'll pop the video on. So thank you, everyone. But we'll still be sticking around for a bit if you have any extra questions to ask us. So thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.